Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Commitment Circle. What we're looking at is how people go from start to finish, how people can set goals and accomplish those goals. We've established a couple of facts. Fact one, people love setting goals. Goal setting is not an issue. People get motivated and inspired to do things. That's not a problem. The problem is staying on track. Now, let me know if this sounds like you. You have an amazing goal, you have amazing ideas, you dream, you want to do certain things, but you just find yourself unable to make progress. You have the skills, you have the qualifications, you have the connections, but still you're not getting the results you want to get. Does this sound like you? Well, if that sounds like you, you're not alone. So, what we've done for the past, let's say, today is the 20th, for the past 50 days now, this series started 50 days ago. 50 days ago, we started a series where we've gone live daily in the month of June. And in July we're going live just 4 times to talk about this topic. Why? The first month talked about competence, how we can build competence, but this time around we're looking at something else. How we can improve the quality of your life and help you accomplish what you've started. So let me know where you're listening from. Let me know what you're talking about and what goals that you set for yourself. And if you've been following the series, let me know also. Let's get cracking. Today's conversation is about self awareness. How well do you know yourself? If I ask you that question, how well do you know yourself? Do you know yourself more than others, or do others know you more than you know yourself? Do you just see yourself as someone that is an introvert? You just see yourself as the job that you do, or you see yourself as something much more? Thanks to Comfort for joining. How well do you know yourself? Now, this is a question that many people don't ask and many people don't care about. But when you know yourself, what happens next? That's the conversation for today. Self awareness. After self awareness, what happens next? So, we're going to be unleashing your full potential, helping you unlock creativity. And that's what our agency is about. We help people unlock their creative side. And it's through the power of self awareness today. That's simply it. What does self awareness have to do with goal setting? I'm sure you'll be wondering. And why did I start by talking about a SWOT analysis? I talked about knowing yourself, and what comes to mind first of all is a quote by Sun Tzu. For those that don't know, I studied international relations, and this is one of my favorite quotes from the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. He is Chinese, or he was Chinese, and Confucius, Sun Tzu, and Feizu, all those people were famous Chinese people. And he said this: know yourself and know your enemy, and you shall win 100 battles. And the quote goes further. It says, if you don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, you will lose. If you know your enemy and you don't know yourself, maybe you would win. But if you don't know yourself or know your enemy, you will definitely lose. So, what's the power of knowing who you are? And this just goes above beyond knowing your name, because if I tell you to introduce yourself, so let's do a little example here. Introduce yourself. Even if you're listening from a company page, just tell me, who are you? You're going to tell me your name. So let's start with that. Who are you? It's first of all knowing your name. So let's know where you're listening from. Just say your name and where you're listening from. In the past, we will say ASL if you're chatting on Yahoo Messenger back then. I can't believe Yahoo Messenger used to be a thing. And we say age, sex, location when you are chatting with people online. So knowing yourself is not just about knowing your name, it's not just about knowing your gender, it's not just about knowing your qualifications. If they take your qualifications away, who do you remain? If you don't have the job, if you don't have the financial independence that you have currently, who are you? Who are you without all these extra buttons and extra things to support you? So let me know your name and the answer to that question. Who are you? How would you introduce yourself? Most people will start with their name, but that we're going beyond names today. We're trying to see how self awareness helps you grow together or grow individually. So before you grow as a community, let's help you grow alone. Self awareness is about knowing yourself. And like I said, it goes beyond your name. It's doing what I will call a um analysis of who you are, so you understand who you are and then you accept who you are. So I always say this, that you move from self awareness, and then I will add this, knowing yourself, to self acceptance, embracing who you are, to self action, taking charge of your own destiny. And I want you to write these three things down, because for everybody from Team Unlocking, I'm going to ask you these questions. So, self awareness, who are you? So, I will use myself as an example. Like I said, I want to make this as interactive as possible. And if you want me to talk to you, then let me know. So, who are you? My name was My name is Dalkori Jonah. I go by DK Jonah, and I used to just describe myself as an introvert. I used to be very, very shy. I knew that I liked speaking, but I didn't like the sound of my voice. So I knew who I was. So when it came to talking in public, my esteem wasn't the strongest. So you say, yes, I have so low self-esteem and a low view of myself. Now, I knew who I was at that point in time, rather than being in denial and say, oh, I actually don't have imposter syndrome. You can't have imposter syndrome if you don't have the qualifications. So get that. I actually don't have low self esteem. I embraced who I was, not just the flaws. So I accepted who I was. Okay, I'm an introvert that has a voice, that likes telling stories, that likes having conversations with people. That was me accepting who I was. Then it wasn't enough for me to accept who I was. I needed to take charge of my destiny. And that's where self action comes in. So if you're listening, just write self awareness, self acceptance, self action in the chat so that I see that you are engaging with me. Self action was me now deciding to start create with words that led to amplify the gospel, that eventually led to unlocking creativity that evolved, or that brought the steadfast creative. Now, this evolution did not start till I was able to accept who I was and I became aware of who I was. How did I become aware of who I became aware of who I am, or who I was then? Now, this is what I will say. Asking yourself questions about who you are, that doesn't mean it is who you would always be. So if I am someone that has low self-esteem, I don't have the qualifications, I came up with a third class, I don't have the financial resources, I don't have the creative gift, I don't have anything. That may be who I am today, but that's not who I will be in a few years' time. And you do not become, a goal is not something that you become in the future, it's someone that you become the day you decide to set that goal. So this moment I started seeing myself as a creative, I'm referring to myself as a creative, something happened. I no longer just saw the timid child that nobody remembered, because in my family, everybody remembers every other child apart from me. They will call every name, and my name will be the last name mentioned, probably because my name was difficult, number one, or they just forgot me because I knew how to blend in. I've gone from that place of where I was to where I am now, having the ability and the strength and the courage to speak. So from a timid person, accepted the fact that I was timid, but I had a qualification in international relations and an interest in media. And I started improving myself and learning. So I was taking action and I took charge of my own destiny. I did not allow my destiny to pull me back, but I allowed myself move forward gradually. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who are you as of today, 20th of July 2023? Are you someone that is unable to pay your bills currently? Are you someone that is financially dependent on others? Are you somebody that doesn't have connections, but then you have a dream that you want to accomplish, but you don't think you are creative enough to accomplish that dream? Self awareness is about accepting who you are, not trying to change who you are. So I became aware that I was an introvert, but I saw problems with being an introvert first. So I saw introversion as a negative thing. I just wanted to be extroverted. I wanted to be able to talk. I then That was not who I was. So by trying to act like the extrovert, I wasn't able to do anything at all. Now, what were the actions I took? Number one, I asked myself reflective questions. I took a strength finder test, and this is where we are coming to now. I had to understand my strengths. Now, what are your strengths? What are the things that naturally come to you? What are the things that people praise you for? We grow up in a society where we are not praised or celebrated when we don't come first. There are three different categories of people in a class. There are people that excel, they're excellent. There are people that fail, But there are people that are in the middle and in the middle. So they neither pass, they none over fail. They are in the middle, they are average. And those average people are the worst people to society because they are neglected. And that's where I fell in from my primary school to my secondary school. I do not pass, I do not fail. I was just average. But as an average person, I was relying more on my weaknesses than my strengths. So I did not see the things that I was naturally good at. Why am I using my story as an example today? Because I want to see you to see the power of self awareness. I want you to understand that in every single person here, you have your strengths. There are certain things that come to you naturally. Now, you can do like me in 2015 that I did and took a strength finder test. But it will cost you something to do a strength finder test because it's not just about understanding your strengths, it's embracing that strength, embracing your superpower. We focus so much on improving our weaknesses and we just neglect our strengths. Now, I'm not saying don't know your weaknesses. We're going to get to your weaknesses. Let's look at your strengths. What are the things that come naturally to you? What are the things you gravitate towards? I used to be like, I'm not good at anything. And the power of your words, how do you speak about yourself? So I used to say, I'm not good at anything. I'm just okay. I just pass. I'm not ambitious. I don't want to be the best in class. I don't want to be the worst. Just leave me alone. As long as I pass, I am fine. That is not a way to see yourself. Now, how did I find out my strengths? I started sitting with myself. When last did you have a meeting with yourself to just look within and ask yourself questions about your strengths? Normally, I would give a quiz at this point in time. But today, I don't want to give a quiz because I want you to actually, after this session, become so aware of who you are that you embrace it and see it as a superpower and stop trying to change yourself. The power of self awareness to unlock your potential is because we don't see ourselves as creatives first. When I see people, I see the best in everybody that I can, and that has been my superpower. I bring out the best in people. I see what they don't see in themselves. I see certain things, but when they don't see it, I can't see it for you. You have to see it for yourself. And just let me know, just write it. I will see my strengths for myself. I will not outsource the finding of my strengths to somebody else. Do not outsource that. There are certain things you can outsource, but the basic things of you embracing that superpower that is called you starts with you. So, what questions did I ask myself? What do I like doing? I like reading. But I was always teased for reading. Okay, I like cooking and hosting people. I was always teased for that. The fact that you were teased for the things that you were good at may have impacted your creativity and your confidence. When we start reading the artist way, we're going to look more about how we can find our strengths. But this session is about self reflection. I want you to reflect. What are the things that you like doing, but people tease you, so you don't want the world to know you like doing those things? What makes you smile when nobody else is watching? What are the things that you will do if no one tells you to do it? That's how you start finding your superpower. And you don't find your superpower once and then just move on. You keep on finding it and it keeps evolving. But focus more on improving the things that you are naturally good at rather than neglecting the ones that you are not. Now, your weaknesses. Acknowledge your imperfection. I'm not good when it comes to managing people. I over indulge people. I enable people because I want you to be the best. So I am enabling. So one thing I have done this year is acknowledge my weakness, which is I've been trying my best to manage a team and it's affecting the bottom line. So I had to outsource and delegate the management of the team to others. But in that period, I'm still involved in a little way, but I am learning. By embracing my imperfection, I could see that somebody else had the potential to run this better than me. What are the things that you are trying to force yourself to do that you can't do? Now, if it has to do with your 9 to 5, sometimes there are some things that are inevitable, but we are talking at your personal development and your growth. We're not just looking at your job. This is about you, not your job. Hey, Victor, this is about you, not your job. This is not about your skills. What are the things that you need to acknowledge about yourself? Acknowledge the fact that you are not good at time management. Acknowledge the fact that you are always procrastinating. Acknowledge the fact that you know what, you would rather be in bed than be at work. Acknowledgement of your imperfection. Sometimes we want to sound perfect to the whole world and we've not embraced that imperfection that we have. Embracing your imperfection does not mean that you will say, this, I'm imperfect, I'm imperfect, that's it. But rather than being in denial of the parts that are your weaknesses, you accept that this is a part that I am not so good at, and then you can create a plan to improve. We're talking about self awareness. No one is going to do your SWOT analysis for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to DIY it. The reason my book is called DIY Branding and the other one is about DIY Leverage, the one I'm working on, it's because I want you to embrace these things by yourself, no one else. You need to accept who you are. You don't want a situation where you don't see your weaknesses as things that could tear you down because you have ignored them. Everybody has blind spots. I have my blind spots. So how do I embrace my weaknesses? Embracing is not saying, I am weak in this area, that's it. No. It's not an enabling character, no. It's just saying it's better I know my weaknesses and I work on it than other people see it and it becomes as a disadvantage and they use it to take advantage of me. It's all about your personal growth. Now, recognizing opportunities and threats. Dometrica and I were speaking yesterday, and it was like, DK, there are so many opportunities that we've had to collaborate and do so many things. As I said, collaborate, my eyes just went to Funke. We've collaborated once, but we do need to collaborate again. Collaborate to do certain things. Some people see AI as a threat. I see AI as an opportunity. So I have to look at the fact that AI could possibly be a threat to the jobs. How am I going to position myself that these things do not threaten me? How am I going to take advantage of these opportunities? When it comes to your own personal growth and development, what are the opportunities that you can embrace and what are the threats that you can avoid or mitigate against? Because sometimes you cannot, some of these threats are external. The exchange rate is not something that I can control, it's external. What are the threats external to you that you cannot control, but you should be aware of when it comes to your growth and your personal development? It could be the fact that you don't know how to manage time, that time is not on your side. Opportunities. I was telling someone this yesterday. Everybody have your rate card ready. If somebody comes to you today and says, Funke, I want to work with you, I want to see what you've done, do you have a portfolio ready to show that person? That can be an opportunity that you miss. Let's be able to recognize the opportunities that we can take advantage of, then position ourselves by preparing ourselves to take advantage of those opportunities. Someone asked for a proposal yesterday, and I was able to quickly come up with it because we had been talking about things about that. But the was like, I told you let's work on it at least. And I was like, in my head, I was already working on it. I know how I work. How well do you know yourself? Are you someone that responds well to pressure? Are you someone that reacts when things looks like someone is challenging you? Are you someone that doesn't know how to work with authority? Are you somebody that, you know what, once there's an opportunity to relax, you take it? Know yourself more than any other thing. And when you look at your strengths, your opportunities, your weaknesses, and all these things, now let's look at your unfair advantage. Now, I'm not going to give you the textbook definition of anything today. Like I said, I want to have conversations and I want questions from you. So let's look at your unfair advantage. Why is it called an unfair advantage? There's actually a book on unfair advantages, and I believe everybody should read it. But why is it called an unfair advantage? And how do you have an unfair advantage? You have an unfair advantage because there are certain things that you have that I don't have, and there are certain things that I have that you don't have. And this goes beyond qualifications, but it involves qualifications, it involves associations, it involves connections. So I will put my unfair advantage as my qualifications, my connections, the fact that I'm a military brat, the Navy connection. Victor and I have an unfair advantage because we've worked together for some weddings for the family. So that's a connection that we have. Sometimes we don't even see the advantages that we have to get into certain industries because we don't see ourselves as having an advantage over others. If somebody wants to get into a certain industry like HR, Funke has an unfair advantage that I don't have. I studied HR, but I haven't worked in HR for a while, for example. Your unfair advantage starts with you listing your connections, the people you know in your industry, outside your industry, the people you know from your university, from your primary school, from your secondary school. You write all these things down. And these things I'm telling you, I don't want it to be in your head. We're getting out of putting things in our head. Let's put things on paper and go back and reflect on them. So I'm not giving quizzes today. If you want me to give you a quiz about this later, let me know and I'll create one. I love creating quizzes. But your unfair advantage are the things that you have that give you an edge over others. I have a creative edge over others because of the way my mind works. An extrovert has an unfair advantage over me because an extrovert is always willing to network. When it comes to network, I have a disadvantage networking. I have a unfair disadvantage because I'm an introvert and I just want to be indoors all the time. When it comes to negotiating, I always want the best for my clients. So I'm always looking for a way to ensure that they save money, even if that could be a blind spot I have. But someone else, Christiana, if you want to be in the video, that's not a problem. But someone else could take an advantage, could have a disadvantage when it comes to certain things. Introverts have a disadvantage in certain areas where extroverts have an advantage. So now, based on your introversion or extroversion, what are your unfair advantages? An extrovert enters a room and they can make connections with people. You've been working with somebody for 5 years. You've been trying to get to work with the head of that department. Your husband or wife comes for a meeting and is introducing you to the person. I met this person on the way in and we started talking and I told them about you. And you're like, I've been trying to get this person on my side. That's an unfair advantage. But it's about using all these things to unlock your potential. I talked about your creative edge. Self awareness makes you realize that creativity starts within you. When you are aware of who you are, what you can do, how you do what you do, you realize that it gives you an edge over every other person. I see myself as the most creative individual on earth. I'm not competing with anybody. But when it comes to making cakes, I will not even go near endowment cakes at all, at all, at all. Because he is the boss. That's his creative edge. How well do you know your own creative edge? How well do you know yourself? Have meetings with yourself, sit with yourself. Sometimes get bored. It's not every time you should be connected. Disconnect from the world to connect with yourself to find your creative edge. The way this digital world works, it's fantastic. Someone like a bestie in my head is Kit Lee. He has found his creative edge and people respond to him because he embraced himself. We respond to people that are authentic and themselves. So why are we not authentic with ourselves? If you want to solve problems, do anything to find your creative edge, how do you solve problems? Start solving problems. Embrace your creativity as a powerful tool for problem solving. I did that. The reason I did DIY branding, the reason I'm doing the podcast, the reason I am doing this is because of my creative edge. It's about not just thinking about what others have done, but thinking about the way you will do it. Your creative edge matters. And after talking about your creative edge, when it comes to self awareness, this is what I will say. When you are aware of who you are, how you work, how you learn, how you study, it gives you an edge over every other person. I don't want you to just look at your self awareness about I'm a morning bird, I'm a night owl, I like coffee, I like suya. Go beyond your preferences. In order for you to be productive, you need to know how you create. You need to know how you think. You need to know how you learn. You need to know self awareness is about all these things. Creativity. How do you create? When are you most creative? How do you learn? How do you network? How do you collaborate? How do you reach out to people? Knowing those things about yourself gives you a better position to be productive. Because if I know that in order for me to write, I need to be in a quiet place. I will use co-working sessions that I host to just engage with people. So by the time I start working, I am quiet and I am able to work and no one is interrupting my work. I know myself, so I don't check my emails in the morning. When I'm working, I'm not checking WhatsApp. Today I had like 36 messages. I know that I was supposed to respond to them, some of them since Monday. I have not responded. I will send an apology, a very long apology. But what communication devices have led to, especially things like WhatsApp, emails, before you send a letter, it will arrive to the person later. Now, things arrive immediately and we want to respond immediately. Then we are supposed to be working on other things. Then somebody is like, I want to borrow you for a few minutes. And then you don't want to hurt that person's feelings, but you want to talk to the person later, and you don't want to communicate. Yes, we set boundaries. Yes, we set in, but we need to set boundaries with ourselves, but also offer flexibility. How do you work? Does everybody know how they work? How aware are you of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what does this work? How does it help you? It enhances your emotional intelligence. You can see that I missed an E. Spelling and I are best friends. So you guys should just get used to that. That was supposed to say emotional intelligence. And that's the art of self awareness. People see emotional intelligence in different ways. Like I said, we're not dwelling on definitions today, we are going practical. Sometimes we react emotionally, but we understand that if we can control our emotions, we can control our creativity. If we know the things that trigger us, we know how to avoid them. We know how to mask. We know how to make informed decisions. And this eventually leads to you building better relationships. I've had relationships with people that I may not understand. Someone like Victor here, we've known each other for a couple of years now, over 10, 15 years for working on weddings. And that relationship we had was because I did not know much about emotional intelligence, but it's because of the way we communicated and respected each other. When you are talking to people and when you are dealing with people, you need to embrace empathy. But most importantly, apart from embracing empathy, self regulation. How do you regulate yourself? I know that I used to be hot tempered before. I've learned to regulate myself. So sometimes I avoid certain conversations and I have this avoidance part. Now I know that I avoid certain things, so I need to start having this conversation. How well do you know yourself? The art of self awareness is that it makes you more emotionally intelligent and helps you make informed decisions. Then, this is the most difficult one. Sometimes when people give us feedback, we see it as attack. If somebody tells you, DK, ah, I don't like the way you pronounce this word when you were going live. Before I would see it in 2016 when I started, I made up my mind that whatever anybody says, the person should say it. It has happened, it has happened. You cannot go and erase the video. That's how I had to get. But if I had started filming in 2012 when I started and someone corrected something I did, it would have been worse off for me. I won't have been able to take it. Feedback is medicine for your soul. If you want to heal, you need feedback. Your body needs feedback. Your creative work needs feedback. But you should also be able to prepare yourself to see feedback as people's opinion about your work, not about you. Separate your work from you. Self awareness is you realizing that if I receive feedback from this person, it's going to hurt my feelings. But this person is my boss, so I cannot avoid that conversation. So after having that conversation with myself, how am I going to buffer that conversation? You should have a trusted person that you can talk to. So it's all about balance. Embracing feedback is good for growth, it's good for your journey, but it's also something that can be increased and improved on regularly. It's not something that you arrive at once and for all. See it as a continuous journey. Don't see it as something that comes and then goes immediately. We've talked about self awareness. We've talked about understanding yourself, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses. And somebody is pointing out some of your weaknesses only, but you already know those things are things that you're not the best at. And you don't see it as an attack on you. Is there any a way, and anybody can share? I would like to hear from you. How do you embrace feedback? What do you do with feedback? Victor, if you're still on the call, if somebody doesn't like a cake, or how has feedback helped you grow in the past couple of years as you've been on this journey for over a decade? Okay, if you're still here, I would love to hear from you. How has feedback helped you grow as an individual on your journey? Because sometimes learning from other people's experiences, storytelling helps us embrace the truth. If somebody just comes and says, these are the 5 ways to embrace feedback, understand that the person is not attacking you. Sometimes it just feels theoretical. But when we share our experiences, we're able to learn from each other. Not everyone is going to be a patient person with you when they are giving you feedback. Sometimes people give you feedback when they are in a hurry, they are in the middle of something and they give you that feedback immediately and they are moving on to the next project. And you take it as a personal attack. See, your limited beliefs affect you, your limited mindset affects you. Sometimes when people poke on the things that we are struggling with, it actually ends up impacting us negatively. Okay, now we've talked about goals, and this is a conversation we've been having. Goals, 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 goals. We started this series day one on goals, and we're going to end it with resetting our goals. But let me hear from Funke. Funke said feedback is key for me. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So for those that are on other platforms, sorry. Oh, this says self action. Feedback is key. It's fundamental. It is fundamental. Sometimes feedback doesn't feel good. Is it always meant to feel good? Sometimes we just want to feel good about every single thing. But let's have a simple, honest conversation. Is it always supposed to feel good? She said, feedback is key for me, never always enjoyable, but it is important for continuous improvement. Exactly. It's sometimes the pain from feedback can kill you if you are not careful. All you will dwell on is the negative, the negative, the negative. You forget the positive. There was a time in GS1, being very vulnerable today. There was a time in GS1. I've always had a problem with spelling. So I spelled ease as is. I don't know. I didn't hear the H as far as I'm concerned. Ade, the drummer boy. E is a. I wrote Heis. Oh, something is a very good. It was just something wrong with my statement. And the feedback I received from my English teacher that day, Mrs. Kate Martins, I will never forget it. Said basically she said, "Who is this idiot? What did they teach you in that school that you came from?" I was in GS1. I left from primary 5, so I was 10 in GS1. And she went on a tyrant and was raking and basically berating me in front of the whole class. And that's in I didn't know that that was a trait of dyslexia or ADHD. It's just now I'm finding out as an adult. Now that feedback almost killed me that day because till date I still remember how little I felt. And that's why when I'm correcting people, I am very grateful and empathetic when I am trying to correct somebody. And if I want to say this is a lazy work, I'll be like, this work is lazy. But I'm not saying you are, but the work you did is lazy. Mrs. Kate Martins or Miss Kate Martins ridiculed me in front of everybody because of spelling errors. And other people have done that. But in that same day, I got another feedback from someone else. And she said, "Oh, who is the highest today in class?" And she said, "Highest, I'm going to buy you a bottle of Limca." And I wasn't expecting my name to be called. And she was like, "Oh, Dalcori Jonah, 9/10." I said, "Eh? Food metal fiber of all courses." And I scored 9/10. And she was like, "Oh, it was such a good one, blah, blah, blah." Now, I received two feedbacks that day. Guess the one that stayed with me for the longer time? The negative. Sometimes we have to let go of the hurt from our journey, from childhood till date. Sit with yourself and write these things down and tear it up. If you want to remember the words, how did you feel? I felt little when this person spoke about me in this way. I received feedback from this person. I did not like how it sounded. I am not a lazy person. I am not stupid. I'm not an olodo. Write all these things down. Sometimes we don't understand the way the words people have spoken to us in the past impacts us today. But when we have these exercises where we can sit with ourselves and write things down, and when you're writing these things down, like I said, I'm not giving prompts today, but if you want me to give prompts, I'll tell Esther to put a few prompts on my social media pages. When you're writing these things down, you're writing down what no one will read, what no one will see for your eyes only. And I give you permission to tear it up once you're done. That's your way of letting go. Feedback is important, but who you receive feedback from is also very important. So, like I said, the way when we become more of aware of who we are, we can revamp our goals. We can go back to the drawing board because we've let go of the hurt. We've seen our strengths, we've seen our weaknesses, we've seen our unfair advantages, certain things that we do not see as strengths, we begin to see them in a new light. So what I want you to do now is this: rethink the goals you've set for yourself for the rest of the year. Rethink them because you're now aware of the power that you carry. Ensure that the goals that you're setting are not just monetary goals, but they are goals that look at the 9 aspects of your life that you want to grow in: your spiritual, your well-being, your emotional health. Sometimes we don't even set goals for our emotional health. Self-care is not just about lighting candles and taking a soak. It's about the things we tell ourselves about ourselves every day. It's about being kind to yourself. And you'll be surprised what happens. So, your journey begins today. I want you to start embracing the power within. Everybody has creativity in them, and creativity starts getting unlocked when you move from self awareness to self acceptance to self action. Remember, it's not just about knowing who you are. It's not enough to know who you are, because most of us know, oh, I'm a timid person. I don't like public. I don't like this. We know that, but we're in denial. We've not accepted it. Well, when you accept who you are, it doesn't end there. What actions are you going to take today that would improve your journey? What actions are you going to take today that will change the way you see yourself, see your goals, see your future? The actions you take today will make a difference. And it's not just one action and you take this action once and you stop. I talk about 3 different ways I do this. I have, and I'm going to start. I'm starting an email newsletter. It's going to be called the Dispatch, and we're going to send emails Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Wednesdays to help you do your midweek check, to check if you are on track with your goals, and you sit down with yourself every evening and ask yourself some reflective questions about yourself. And you're writing. Let's get the thoughts out of our head and onto paper, and we will be on our journey in a lighter way. Some of us are carrying on too much. I love this quote by Lao Tzu. I'm not Asian, but I will try my best. Lao Tzu. He said, "Knowing yourself is intelligence. Knowing others, sorry, is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." What we've done today is looked at ways we can become self aware and how self awareness helps us unlock the most creative parts of our soul. Self awareness is a powerful tool that can help you become unstuck and move forward in life. Remember the definition of unstuck for those that didn't join us because today is day 50. We've been doing this series for 50 days now. For those that didn't join us from the beginning, we define being stuck as being unable to make progress on your goals, and you're unable to make progress on the projects, the goals, the tasks, and the things that make meaning to you. So you have defined what you want to do, but you can't just make progress. You are stuck. You are not able to move forward. And the series is about moving you from stuck to finish. So you cross that finish line. It's not enough for you to start. We identified a couple of things. People don't have a problem starting. They start fantastic. They set goals, they set dreams. So sometimes we have to cut our goals in half. We'll talk about that later. People don't have a problem with motivation. You are motivated. So we said this: starting is not enough. Motivation is not enough. You need some other things to help you build your personal productivity system. So, on the journey to building your personal productivity system, one of the things you need in your creative arsenal is self awareness. And we said it's not just about having self awareness, but it's about accepting who you are, not who you wish you were, and then taking action to ensure that you become the best version of yourself on your journey. And what happens when you become self aware? What happens to you? You'll be able to identify your limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs is me telling myself I cannot be good at networking, I can't be good at public speaking. That was something, a limiting belief I had about myself. It will make me understand my triggers, and you will understand your triggers, because you understand that these are the things that whenever this happens, I get distracted. These are the things that distract me. Oh, I realize that my phones, when I see notification on my email, I want to respond immediately. You recognize patterns. Patterns are things that keep reoccurring. You start your fitness goal. this friend invites you for a party, you eat cake and you abandon that goal. Is it okay? All right, I will answer that question in a while. You recognize patterns, you embrace your emotions. You're like, okay, this is who I am. I'm an emotional person. I'm very emotional. Actually, I'm emotionless. I'm a military child. I don't have emotions, but everybody thinks I'm emotional. But if you are emotional and someone that easily gets offended, you accept who you are. What are the things that offend me? Rather than seeing it as a weakness that you should abandon, you see it as something that you should accept and make changes if need be. You are able to clarify your goals. You're not just setting goals that are ambitious without being the person that has the ability to back that ambition. You are not like the hare that is qualified to win a race, but the tortoise beats you because the tortoise sticks on the track. But you are going everywhere. You're busy being busy and you're not doing anything at all. But you build resilience. Resilience is something that Nigerians already have. So if you're a Nigerian and you're listening to me, Ekushe, you have resilience a lot. You don't need to build resilience anymore. But then, most of the time, as entrepreneurs, as individuals, we have fought this journey on our own. The part of getting unstuck is finding support, seeking somebody that can work with you on this journey, not attempting to do it alone. Because on your own, you are limited. You have blind spots that you cannot see. Because if you drive, you understand what blind spots are. If you so you'll be able to seek support. I have support. And the funny part is this. I come from a family of four girls and one boy. So I have three sisters. My support doesn't come based on my business and where I am going, doesn't come from my sisters and my brother only. I would say 90% doesn't come from them. I have intentionally built relationships that give me the support that I need on this journey. I can't do it on my own. Today I called Emma. I'm like, Emma is one of my support besties. I called Emma. I'm like, oh, this. I sent a message to my accountability partners. I've started a mastermind group that I'm building. I'm building a community. So I'm seeking support from others. Okay, how do I want to build this community? Because I want to build it intentionally and help people accomplish their goals. Then mindfulness, being intentional about what I allow within and what I don't allow. And most importantly, self awareness makes you take ownership. Okay, I made a mistake. I am not good at managing. I have kept tried to manage for so long. I've tried to do client relations for so long. I am taking ownership rather than blaming every other person and their village people. Most of the time, when you do something wrong, you blame your village people. Village people and the devil have suffered. We blame them when things go wrong, but we don't take ownership. The beauty of you saying, this is the role I played and this is why this is this. Think about it. When you were in school, you scored an A in maths, but they gave you F in Igbo. How many of us said it for any subject? You scored the one you passed, you will say, but they gave me an F. We don't take ownership, and that's just human nature. So we need to build that resilience in order to take ownership of what we've done and the role we've played. And most importantly, celebrate success progress. A couple of days ago, when we did a series, we talked about the fact that not everybody measures goals in the same way. Some people look at progress, some people look at results, some people want to see the end. Celebrate the small progresses that you make, the small things that you achieve. Acknowledge what you've done. Don't wait for the full picture before you start celebrating yourself, because competence builds confidence. Sometimes you need to keep reassuring yourself that you can do it, because there will be painful days. There will be days you want to fall down and cry on this journey. I'm not promising you that the road is going to be smooth once you know all these things, but I'm promising you that you'll be equipped to do it the right way. Now, let's go to the first question. The question is it possible to turn an unfair advantage into an advantage, or there is no point? Oh, sorry, an unfair disadvantage. Let's look at the unfair disadvantages and the weaknesses. So an unfair disadvantage could be that's a word I coined. I don't think that's used in the book. But let's look at it as your weaknesses. I am not good at networking, but I can turn it into an advantage where I get a networking body to go with me and I seek support. That's something that I do. I am not good at taking advantage of opportunities because I have a savior complex. That's an unfair disadvantage. I can turn that savior complex into someone that is compassionate to help others, and that enables me help my clients get the best results, and it makes people trust me. My clients trust me, my friends trust me because they know that Dawkuri is reliable. But I can see the fact that people become over dependent on me as a disadvantage and not turn it into an advantage. Most of the time, we see our weaknesses as things that are not good. I remember one day I was having a conversation with Sensei, and it was our very first conversation, and I was telling him about the things that I wasn't good at, and he said, "Someone that is compassionate, doesn't that make the person a good negotiator?" Sometimes we need to. You could look at the acronyms of this word, help you a suggestion, so you get the definition of what that word means to you. A disadvantage doesn't mean that it will kill you. It's just something that you may not be the best at, but it's something that you can improve. But what I will say is your unfair advantage are not things that you may necessarily need to improve or build, but they are things that you should know. However, when we focus on just our weaknesses or the things that are our disadvantage, we neglect the strengths. So they should be balanced. So rather than using 80% of your energy on your unfair disadvantage because you know you will struggle in that area, use 80% on your advantage and 20% of your energy on your disadvantage. So, for example, I don't like reading anymore. So, I can now say I've always loved reading in the past. I've used audiobooks. I don't like networking. That's one thing I will say. I don't like networking. I don't like speaking on stage. But what did I do? I started attending improv classes and I kind of rehearse what I want to do when I go there. So it's a disadvantage for me, but because I am aware it's a disadvantage, I can take advantage of it and spin it to my benefit. So the answer to your question is yes, there is a point, but do not make it your primary focus. You have to understand that you have limited energy. You have only 168 hours in a week. And those 168 hours, you need to plan so that you are creating time to work on your strengths and creating time to work on your weaknesses so that you are paying equal attention to all the things you need to pay attention to. But do not focus all your energy on one and then neglect the other one completely. I don't know if that answers your question, Funke, or you need further clarification. Okay, Esther said, I have had negative feedback from people. It's made me feel bad, but it's made me try harder. Yes, I think one of my favorite quotes is that this quote, a bad day for my ego is a good day for my soul. When it comes to receiving feedback from people, it's not the easiest thing at all. You've used all your time and energy to focus on something, and somebody just comes and dismantles it immediately. What I try and do is I don't shoot the messenger. Okay, thank you. I don't shoot the messenger. I listen to the message. So I will listen to what the person is saying. If there's any merit in it, I'll take what advantage of what I'll take what the person has said and listen to it. If there's no merit in it, I try and dismiss it. And I mean I try. So it's something you have to be intentional about. Whatever we're doing with self-awareness, whatever we're doing with anything in this world, it's not just do it once and then it ends. No, it's a journey. Some of us want the solution in one day. We cannot get it in one day. Because I could have just come and given you, oh, this is how to create your personal productivity plan, which is what we are going to do tomorrow. Hopefully, I don't change it because the flyer is ready. But I could have just come and given you that. But what I've realized is when we didn't tackle issues like work ethics, what's your attitude to work? Do you have a negative attitude to work because of your childhood? Are there things that you experience when it comes to work that you just hated work? That when some of your parents come in, everybody has to be reading or active. So that makes you hate work or hate working on things that are not to do with your academics or your career. So you don't have any life skills or soft skills. When we now have to start addressing those little issues, it's changing people's mindset. So this is my objective: change the way you see yourself, because when you see yourself in a better light and you're able to get bored with yourself in order to be with yourself, so you disconnect with the world to connect with yourself, you get better results. You are a different person when you start working on your goals. Because we can all create pretty vision boards, but this goes beyond having a vision board that is pretty, that everybody is just like, wow, your vision board is so pretty. I want a situation when we get to vision boards, when we work on our goals, when we talk about what our personal productivity plan should contain, we are able to do it in a way that we see ourselves as people that can accomplish it despite the limitations we may have. So, my question for you is this: if money wasn't a problem, if time wasn't a problem, if skills were not a problem, if location wasn't a problem, what would you be doing? All right, then. So I will see you all tomorrow. Join me at 9 p.m. Friday is 9 p.m. tomorrow, and we'll have an amazing conversation on how you should go about building your personal productivity plan. Let me know. You can send me a DM with a response to your question, and we could have a fun chat. All right. Oh, I forgot to ask. Are there any more questions before I run away? Because the session is supposed to be for 45 minutes, but we've gone over by 5 minutes. But thank you all for listening to me. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow if there are no questions. I bid you all good night. Bye. All right. That means no questions. All right, then. Bye.